How you doing? How you doing? Hello. It's the thought process of me. Because you set boundaries for yourself, it's not that you think you better than somebody. Let's get to that part. It's the thought process of me. No, it's having self-awareness within yourself to self-reflect, to understand your awareness that at the end of the day, you respect yourself enough to understand that you're not allowing someone to cross paths with you in an unhealthy way, or you're not letting someone do more than what they're supposed to do at the end of the day. Do too much. Because at the end of the day, when you self-reflect and understand that, hey, yeah, I matter, I am worthy, but I cannot allow myself to continue to repeat certain cycles within circle, of a cycle, to allow the norm of the toxic norm that's not the norm to disrupt with your mindset, regardless to what it is. When you tell somebody no, it's no. When you tell somebody not today, it's not today. When you tell someone to leave you alone, leave you alone. It's like you're making sense within making sense. And when it's a one-sided conversation, it doesn't make sense to someone who doesn't have common sense. So when you self-reflect, they say that you think you're better than somebody. When you actually understood the assignment to self-reflect and understand that your pain and your trauma does not live here today, and they're a hate in disguise and they're miserable because of the fact that you choose your best self vision of yourself, because they cannot walk over you anymore. It's the thought process of me. They can't paint a narrative of a description that you're truly not anymore. Because why? You stood up for yourself in the most healthiest way, not to go back and forth with words with somebody who doesn't know how to communicate, let alone how to respect themselves, to respect their neighbor. It's the thought process of me. When you have boundaries, you're doing too much. Why am I doing too much? Because I decided to choose my best self-vision of myself, to self-reflect, to understand my awareness within myself, to understand that, hey, you're not for me. You're not for me, and stay in your lane. And I say that respectfully. Like, it be the thought process of me when it comes to the one-sided conversations. Ma'am, sir. It really be the narrative for me when someone says, oh, you think you better than somebody. Why? Because I went within to do the healing. When someone goes in to do their trauma healing from a child point of view, going into their adulthood, regardless if they've been sexually assaulted, discriminated against, dealt with violence, this toxic family, trauma on top of trauma, and all this stuff went into their adulthood. Violence, domestic violence, sickness. You put a name to your book. When somebody can understand their pain and their trauma, when they're mentally ready to go within to understand it, then I have to have boundaries, because I cannot allow certain things to affect my life moving forward. So you have to place these boundaries in effect at the end of the day, to not shortchange yourself, but to make it an equal exchange, to show up for yourself in the most healthiest way. And someone that's watching you watch you at the end of the day. I don't understand why they paying too much, so much mind to you at the end of the day, when they need to go self-reflect in the day. But the person that's watching you, they're so threatened and intimidated by the fact that you put boundaries up. You cut them off. You removed your energy from them, and they're hate in disguise, and they don't like that. And they try to sit there and have third-party conversations about you and don't even know what they're talking about at the end of the day, because they don't even know themselves to actually self-reflect, to go within. It be the thought process of me. How you put boundaries up. You got this wall up for boundaries. It's this wall up for boundaries for all the right reasons. It don't matter if it's a relationship. It don't matter what type of relationship was. It don't matter. It don't matter what type of job it is. You gotta have boundaries, because you gotta put in your book what fits for you. And if you don't know what fits for you, you're not going to have the proper self-awareness to know what's truly for you. And if you don't have the proper boundaries, you're not going to have the proper self-awareness to understand your boundaries. So because you decide to choose your boundaries, to self-reflect, to understand, hey, having boundaries like this, I'm not going to go back and forth with my neighbor because my neighbor don't got common sense to respect me. That's having boundaries. I have boundaries for myself because I'm not going to allow myself to go back and forth with someone who doesn't have common sense, let alone respect their neighbor. It's the thought process of me. I'm not going to allow a person like this to antagonize me moving forward in my journey. Anybody who has this behavior, I don't want it. That's having boundaries. That's like a toxic relationship that you remove yourself out of at the end of the day. You put boundaries up because you just tired of the BS. You was tired of somebody disrespecting you. You was tired of somebody playing a narcissist game towards you at the end of the day. You was tired. And you said, enough is enough. I need to put boundaries down. They're not gonna like it. They're not gonna like it. They're gonna dislike it. They're gonna dislike it. They're gonna dislike it. But why matter if they dislike it? When you have boundaries, it's your boundaries. It's what's fit for you. Your boundaries is what's fit for you. It's the thought process of me with the one-sided conversations. Someone chooses their best self vision of themselves to understand their trauma and their pain, to self-reflect and understand to go within, to understand that they don't want their trauma and their pain to display today. And they think they better than somebody because they self-reflect? No, it's just the fact that you're miserable within being miserable, and you keep shortchanging yourself at the end of the day, worried about the next person when you need to self-reflect. It'd be the thought process of me. You so motivated by somebody else motivating themselves, but you don't know how to motivate yourself, but you know how to paint a narrative at the end of the day. Somebody put boundaries up for themselves, and they think they better than somebody. How did you get that narrative? How? How did you possibly get that narrative at the end of the day? Because someone loves themselves enough to understand the awareness, to have self-awareness in the most healthiest way, not a toxic way. When they pain and they trauma, don't live here today. And that toxic behavior and that dysfunctional behavior, they said it was the norm of the norm. It's not the norm. It's not the norm. It's the thought process of me. Misery loves company. And the only way for you to entertain it is to genuinely acknowledge it. So you got to protect your energy. And I say that respectfully. It's the thought process for me. Because you know what happens? A person will really feel so intimidated by you because you choose your best self vision of yourself. A person will feel so threatened by you because you choose your best self vision of yourself. A person will feel like they need to bring harm towards you because you choose your best self vision of yourself. It's the thought process of me. How a person would sit here and have all this animosity towards an innocent person who chooses their best self vision of themselves, to self-reflect and understand it's not about being bougie. It's not about thinking they're better than somebody. No. Why shortchange yourself when you can put boundaries up? Why shortchange yourself when you can respect yourself? Why shortchange yourself when you can have the proper self-awareness to understand healthy boundaries is first priority? To stay in your own lane. To understand and self-reflect. Because to understand that your pain don't live here today. Yes, that energy hits different. It's the thought process of me. Stop being weird. It's really the thought process of me, for real. I leave innocent people alone because you're one-sided. And you don't know how to communicate with them, communicating with yourself. But you know how to interrupt the innocent person with your malicious intentions. It's the thought process of me. Leave innocent people alone. I hope you find peace within yourself one day. But when you come across a real one, you're going to be picking your face up to reevaluate your thought process and say to yourself is, dang, I didn't have good intentions. I should have reevaluated my thought process for even trying to project that negative energy on an innocent person. It'd really be the thought process of me. Like, leave innocent people alone because they love themselves. Leave innocent people alone because they choose themselves in the most healthiest way. Yeah, they past don't live here today. Why you keep bringing up somebody's past at the end of the day? It's the thought process for me. Something that happened 10, 20 years ago, 30, 40 years ago. As long as they didn't have malicious intentions to bring harm towards themselves or others around them, it's the thought process for me with the one-sided conversations at the end of the day. When someone decides to come out their comfort zone, this is the behavior they have to deal with. This is what healing looks like when you have boundaries for yourself. When you have boundaries to self-reflect, to understand your awareness within your awareness, that you're actually paying attention to yourself today. And it's good to know that somebody's paying attention to you too, to know that you know how to motivate yourself without a crowd, without anybody showing you at the end of the day like, hey, choose yourself. Because they know how to choose themselves. Because you have to be mentally stable, mentally ready to go within when it comes to healing. And not everybody's meant to go through trauma healing. They're not. Because it's a process within a process to understand, to have the proper awareness, to have boundaries for yourself, to understand self-reflecting. And I say that respectfully. But when you speak like this, someone says you're being disrespectful. It's the thought process for me. Misery loves company. It's the thought process for me when it comes to the one-sided conversations. Wow. All because you choose your best self vision of yourself to love yourself. And it's the hate you get, the animosity you get. I love it. I love it. You know why I love it? Because I'm going to always choose my best self vision of myself, to not allow someone who's miserable to dim my light, or someone who can't even self-reflect to respect themselves, to respect their neighbor. So I love it. Because regardless of how many times you decide to dim your light, I'm not going to allow myself to dim my light because of your negative energy. It be the thought process for me. How you know how when someone tries to drain your energy or try to get your attention, to go back and forth with words with them, to antagonize your character, but to reevaluate their thought process, they picking up their face today. It wasn't an equal exchange when they thought they was going to antagonize an innocent person. It wasn't an even exchange because they was talking to themselves the whole entire time. It's the thought process of me when you arguing to yourself. Yeah, oh wow, what's wrong with you? Ow, she need a straight body jacket. He need a straight body jacket. Help him, please. It's the thought process for me. Wow. It's like, why should it be a crime within a crime to love yourself? I never understood that. Regardless to what trauma and pain somebody ever experienced in their life, they never projected this negative energy on innocent people. It be the thought process of me. No matter how deep the trauma and the pain actually was, they always knew how to respect their neighbor, something that you can't get in tune with. It's the thought process of me. But regardless of what trauma and pain someone actually experienced in their life, they still know how to show love. And they know not to shortchange themselves when it comes to love that God installed within them. And I say that respectfully. Regardless of what trauma and pain, it's the thought process of me. Not everybody's the same. Never judge a book by its cover. Be careful when you play in innocent people's face. You're gonna mess around and reevaluate your life and say to yourself yeah, I came across a road when I played in their face. It's the thought process for me. You know, having boundaries and self-reflecting and understanding like, hey, I can't give up on myself today because they gave up on me. They overlooked me. And they didn't allow me to learn the boundary, the boundary method because they didn't have boundaries for themselves. So because they didn't have boundaries for themselves, I have to have the self-awareness within myself to gain the knowledge that I need to install within myself now so I can be able to understand myself a lot better. Because when you go within to do the healing, you start to communicate with yourself in the most healthiest way. You don't hurt yourself with words. You try to understand yourself. You try to understand yourself, to go within, to say to yourself is, you know what? If I self-reflect to understand my awareness today, I won't hurt myself with my own words. To become a victim. Because they allowed me to believe that I was a victim. They did. But I'm not going to allow myself to believe that I am a victim because they made me a victim. Because of their narrative at the end of the day. It wasn't a good narrative. All because of the fact that you chose you. You understood boundaries. You understood loving yourself. You understood the awareness within the awareness to have self-respect for yourself. You understood the awareness within an awareness to know your self-value. You understood the awareness within awareness to know your self-discipline. You understood the awareness within awareness to know your self-respect for yourself. To understand that, hey, shortchanging yourself is not part of the plans today. Because you love yourself enough to understand, you went within to understand your pain and your trauma don't live here today, and someone's narrative of you because you choose your best self vision of yourself to have boundaries, yes, you do matter. Because they feel like you don't matter. They feel like you're not worthy. Why you? Why you? Because you chose you. That's why you. That's why. They don't like that. They don't like the fact that you know how to choose yourself. They don't like the fact that you ever had somebody kick you down? You ever been kicked down before? And you try to find balance to pick yourself up? Regardless what obstacles you had to go through in life within your journey? And they just try to kick you down, allow you to feel like you wasn't worthy of yourself. Stupid, retarded, all types of dysfunctional words that they had said to you. That you would never be anything. You would never be nothing. You're worthless. Who are you? You're nobody. Wow. It's the thought process of me. And you're just trying to pick yourself up. And because you're balancing yourself to pick yourself up, you start to gravitate to boundaries. You start to gravitate to the fact that, wow, why are you trying to dim my life for? Because I'm trying to pick myself up to find myself. Days when I couldn't see for myself. I understood a temporary situation for a temporary situation, not to shortchange myself. So because I choose myself to understand the balance within a balance, to pick myself up, good day, bad day, misunderstanding day, and I choose boundaries to guide myself through my day, no, it's not a crime. It's the thought process of me. When someone's quick to judge a book by its cover, but they don't know how to self-reflect to go within, to actually love themselves, to understand and stay in their own lane. It's the thought process of me. You know, it doesn't matter about your sexual orientation, your culture, if you're disabled or not, or your age, when it comes to having boundaries. And I say that respectfully. It's nothing toxic about having boundaries. It's actually a healthy thing. Because when you have self-awareness within yourself, you're not shortchanging yourself. And you're not letting people walk over you, let alone disrespect you. Or you're not letting things within opportunities or situations hold you back because you have boundaries. And you matter not to allow yourself to dim your light because they didn't see your value. They didn't want you to find a balance, to find boundaries, to understand your boundaries today. When they tried to kick you down, when that moment you was homeless, it was a temporary situation within a temporary situation, but you experienced your temporary situation. It felt like forever. Didn't know when it was going to end. When? That toxic relationship. Just wanted it to be over, but the person just kept harassing you. But you set boundaries for yourself. To understand that what you experienced in your past, that's not what you want to display today. It's the thought process of me because, you know what I realized about life, and as you mature, and I say this respectfully, as you mature and you mean what you say and you say what you mean without wearing a mask to tune into yourself and you're patient with yourself. When you start to self-reflect and understand the awareness within yourself, you don't hurt yourself with words anymore. You don't dim your own light. Because as you start to self-reflect and realize at the end of the day that, wow, those days that I overcame those pain and trauma, trying to find balance within myself, to understand my boundaries today, as you self-reflect, regardless if you was in a room with a whole bunch of people, you could have been in a room with 100 people, you could have been in a room with 2 people, 20 people, and you just felt alone. And you had to understand how to come out of that dark phase to find yourself. And when you understood what you was going through with an experience, once you understand your trauma and your pain and understand what's going on mentally with you, you start to understand that, hey, what I experienced within the experience of my experience, I have to set boundaries for myself so I can understand myself today. It's not that you think you're better than anybody. No. No. That's like when you respect yourself. That's not thinking you're better than anybody. It's just having self-respect for yourself, and you know how to respect yourself to respect your neighbor. It's the thought process of me when a one-sided conversation is not equal exchange because your neighbor don't know how to respect you. But never shortchange yourself to respect yourself to stay in your own lane. It's the thought process of me. Because yeah, you do matter. You are worthy. And never give up on yourself or live in fear or be discouraged. Because that's only the enemy talking. And if your pain and your trauma don't live here today, you're not your worst enemy. You're not. And I say that respectfully. You are not your worst enemy. Because you understood to have the boundaries within the boundaries to understand that, hey, my past don't live here today. I went within to understand my awareness for myself, to understand that, hey, I have to be patient with myself. I have to be kind with myself. And I can't allow myself to dim my light because I'm patient with myself. That may go over someone's head. Because being patient with them being patient is a process. And you got to actually understand the process of being patient and understand the process of having boundaries when it comes to patience. To be patient with yourself. And if you can't self-reflect to understand the awareness within yourself, you're only going to shortchange yourself. And that's what life itself. If you don't know how to show up for yourself in a healthy way, you only dim your own light. And you mad and you're worthy. You are. It's sad to see that your neighbor, unfortunately, takes you as a threat. But it's not your fault. Don't hurt yourself because they hurt. It's the thought process for me. What's wrong with you? But it's a thought process of me. You know, when we know how to respect our neighbor, but our neighbor don't know how to respect us, it's like, dang. It's okay to understand that we're not going to be on the same page. It's okay to understand that I don't have to play the discrimination card with you today. But I know how to protect myself from you allowing to project all this negative animosity towards me, though, today. Because I have boundaries for myself. So I'm paying attention with them paying attention at the end of the day that you don't have good intentions. It'd be the thought process of me. Because hate in disguise, the miserable person in the corner, you know, they would try to project negative energy on you and try to do malicious things just to get your attention within getting your attention. Just to throw you off track. It'd be the thought process of me. Misery loves company. It's so sad. And it's sad to say this. Just because someone dealt with, you know, childhood trauma and pain, not everybody displays being miserable. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand either. Because someone experienced what they experienced in their life, not everybody's the same when it comes to being miserable and actually expressing it and showing it in a toxic way. But showing it in a toxic way as to hurting innocent people. Not everybody's on that same page. Just because you're miserable and your trauma and you're mentally unstable, whatever the case may be, not everybody's on that same low vibrational frequency like you. Some people can go through trauma and pain and not display their behavior as to whatever they experience from their childhood going into their adulthood. They don't display it because they have some type of awareness within them that they're trying to find themselves, but they don't know how to find themselves, but they're trying to. Everybody's not the same. Everybody does not have hate within them to bring harm towards an innocent person. Not everybody's playing a discrimination card. And I say that respectfully. Some people just want to mind their business and elevate to become their best self version of themselves. It's the thought process of me. When you know you matter and you know that you are worthy, not to allow someone to dim your light. It's the thought process for me. I gotta go. You know, self-reflecting, it's not a crime. And having boundaries within yourself to have patience for yourself, it's not a crime. So be kind to yourself and respect your neighbor with no malicious intentions. Stop the violence. Stop the violence. It's just the thought process of me. When you're truly at peace with yourself, you ain't gotta wear a mask. It's the thought process for me. Be kind to yourself, love yourself, honor yourself, respect yourself because you matter and you are worthy. I hope you have a good day. You know, it's a cold world we live in. It is. And, you know, not everybody is going to respect you for who you truly are. And not everybody's going to recognize at the end of the day that you decide to choose your best self vision of yourself in your past does not live here today. It's okay. Because you know what? When God sends genuine people into your life, God will send genuine people into your life that's going to genuinely love you for who you truly are. God will send genuine people into your life that's going to genuinely respect you for who you truly are, with no malicious intentions to bring harm towards yourself or others around you, or to be in competition with you and all that toxic behavior. Nah, there are better days ahead. God said there are better days ahead. Believe in yourself. Never dim your light because of a temporary situation. Protect yourself. Be safe, be safe, be safe, be safe, be safe. I truly appreciate your time. To the genuine ones only. You are genuinely loved by all the right people. You are genuinely respected by all the right people. And you deserve to be treated with respect. 365 days with no malicious intentions to bring harm towards yourself or others around you. Yes, you do matter. Yes, you are worthy. Yes, your trauma and your pain, it delayed you just a little bit. But remember, you always on time. Especially when you choose your best self vision of yourself, to understand when it comes to healing, it would never be an overnight process. You can't have one foot in one door, one foot in the other door, trying to wear a mask, tune into yourself. It would never make sense. But you have to be mentally stable, mentally ready to understand that, hey, self-reflecting, to understand your true self-awareness within yourself, the trauma and your pain that you experienced from your childhood going into your adulthood, it's not going to be an overnight process, and it's not going to be easy to understand that, hey, dang, it's a process within a process. It is. It really is. And you got to mean what you say and say what you mean, and understand that it's no competition when it comes to healing. That's first and foremost. It's no competition. And being that it's no competition to come to healing, just because you see your neighbor elevating faster than you, or you see your neighbor doing better than you at the end of the day, everybody's timing is different when it comes to mentally healing, because everybody's trauma is different. Your trauma may be 20 times worse than the next person when you really go within to understand that, hey, sometimes within your journey of healing, you may get stuck on that one situation that you may be stuck on for months and years at a time, and you don't even realize it because of the fact that it's hurting you so bad, and you didn't even realize how hurt you have been because you've been wearing a layer of mask all this time throughout your whole entire journey, and you have not taken care of the pain because the pain became the norm of the norm. So you kept shortchanging yourself, not realizing you were shortchanging yourself. And then when you have those moments within the moments, you be sitting there crying out of nowhere like, what's going on with me? And then you reevaluate your thought process, and you start to feel an emotion within emotion, and you start to say to yourself, "Is dang, I'm dimming my light because of the fact that I'm putting another mask on because I don't want to heal this pain." You run from your pain, you run from your pain and run to a substance. You run from your pain and run to toxic people. You run from your pain and not dealing with your pain to self-reflect, to understand your awareness. And it's not healthy because all it does is make you sick within, and it stops you from showing up for yourself. And I say that respectfully. Never shortchange yourself, especially when you're trying to show up as your best self vision of yourself. You know, like when you go to work or whatever the case may be, and you know how you got that cranky ass co-worker for no reason at the end of the day, they're just so miserable because they never went within to do their healing. And all you hear them talking about is toxic behavior. Like, why are you so mad? Why are you so miserable with them being miserable? Because they have not went in to do the proper healing, to understand their awareness, to show up for themselves in the most healthiest way. Misery loves company. And trauma and pain, never judge a book by its cover, because it shows up when you least expect it in ways, and you be like, wow, things is not going to ever feel the same. It's not. It's not. Because you have to mean what you say and say what you mean to understand your awareness within your awareness, to understand like, hey, I understand My folks gave up on me. I understand my folks abandoned me. I understand my folks were addicts. I understand that my folks did not know how to love me. I understood that my folks didn't know how to respect me. I understood the fact this, whatever it was in your book that was holding you back, to make you feel like you was unworthy of yourself, or someone telling you that you wasn't worthy of yourself, or they gave up on you when you needed them the most, or they gave up on you when you just needed a hug, or when they gave up on you because they didn't say, you know what, I got your back today, when you just needed somebody to have your back. It wasn't about money, because what kid really needs money at the end of the day when they just need real love and respect, and someone actually acknowledging them and being there for them in a healthy way, not the toxic way. You know that trauma, that pain from your childhood, it goes into your adulthood. So then you fill that emptiness as to wow. You start to look for love in all the wrong places. And you start to reevaluate your thought process and say to yourself, dang, I keep going in circles within going in circles. Why am I keep experiencing within experience? I keep experience. The behavior was the norm of the norm. So because it became the norm of the norm, you're displaying this behavior and you're accepting the short change of the end of the stick when it's not good. Coming from individuals that wasn't even supposed to be part of your journey, but they were more of a lesson. So you can understand your blessing. That at the end of the day, like, hey, your blessing is choosing your best self vision of yourself to self-reflect, to understand that, hey, my trauma, my pain don't live here today. That energy hit different. Because you matter and you're worthy. You matter. You matter, you matter, you matter. You matter. Wow. See how time changed. Things will never feel the same. Choose your best self vision of yourself. Because you matter, you're worthy. I truly appreciate your time to the genuine ones only. No problem. You have a safe day and have a safe week. You know, sometimes in life, we get we have those moments in our life where it feels blank. It feels blank within blank, and we feel like we don't know which way to turn. And we feel like we don't have the proper direction. And we feel like, dang, I feel like I'm just going in circles within going in circles of myself. And things just ain't gonna be the same. But that's here we go again, that's you dimming your light. Not having boundaries for yourself. To understand, don't allow yourself to become your worst enemy, hurting your own self, shortchanging yourself with your own words. Because they gave up on you, they overlooked you. But trust and believe, they gave up on you and they overlooked you for all the right reasons. They wasn't supposed to be part of your journey. They wasn't. Because when you self-reflect to understand that, hey, I choose me, when you find peace within yourself to understand your healing, you okay? Wait. Hold on. You mean to tell me I should have just went in and did my healing from the beginning? Hold on. Wait. I love myself. Shortchanging myself? Nah. That energy hit different. Looking for somebody to root you on when you could be rooting yourself on, that energy hit different. When you become your biggest cheerleader, sidetracking yourself today, nah. Things will never be the same because you became a believer and you understood your boundaries and you understood the awareness within awareness that you're not wearing a mask to tune into yourself in the most healthiest way to dim your own light. I gotta go. Now, genuine love, respect. Have a safe day, have a safe week, protect your energy because not everybody's having a good time. Yo, that relationship didn't work out for all the right reasons. Don't hurt yourself with your own words because it didn't work out. They weren't for you anyway. She was cheating, he was cheating. They wasn't no good anyway. It's the thought process for me. Get out of here. I gotta go. Have a good day. Night,